Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We're going to be doing a little story time session here on this video. We're going to be going into a little bit of Paul's background at Norsemont. See what happened, walk through kind of that success story. From where it started, or at least where Paul got involved, to then of course where it ended up. But first things first, Paul, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jason.
Good, good. Well, hey, again, story time. I almost throw it to you as the narrator, to give people, of course, a taste. You were involved with Norsemod. You had a bunch of different titles, but I'll throw it to you. I'll let you start. I know in your bio it kind of mentions you started that company when it was about $1 million market cap. Do you want to kind of start there and then talk through, really the storytelling of the challenges, what happened, what, and then eventually, of course, you guys sold it off and all that stuff. But uh, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, it's a fascinating tale of how you start with a company that's really small and you end up just keeping at it and growing the company. I started in that company in 2001 when there was just a small office at the Sun Tower in Vancouver. Back in 2001, I've been chatting with a guy online for a bit, talking about stocks. I had just come off of a really good win with one of my private companies in which we got a big contract that was paying a lot of money. So I got a bit of a bonus. I had been a public employee for a while, and I said, "Geez, I'm going to pay a lot of taxes. Why don't I just learn to golf and learn to trade and see what happens?" And so I ended up meeting a bunch of guys. One of them, Richard, introduced me to this company, Norsemont Mining, in 2000. And actually, it was called International Norsemont back then in 2001. It was a .H company. It was just about ready to go belly up. And he said, "Geez, I really don't know what's going on, but I've been buying a bunch of shares in this company. Yet share price doesn't go up; it still stays the same. And what's going on with it?" So, I took a look at the company, met the CEO, and the CEO, honestly, he looked like, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, he looked exactly like Gollum. Like, it was crazy. And I said to my buddy, are you going to invest in a CEO that this guy? You got to be crazy. What are you doing, right? He says, "Oh, no, no, the commodities boom is coming, and gold and silver and copper are gonna go." And I was, a little doubtful because everything had been down in the toilet for a long time. So I said, "Okay, well, go take a look." Met the guys and sort of followed along, and then realized what was going on. That these guys were just about bankrupt, and so we infused them with a bit of cash, kept them alive for about a year, and then we ended up going on the board of directors and a bit of a coup in a way. And so we walked in, took over the company, and then we ended up recruiting a really great CEO, Mark Levy, who took the project on and had a vision for it. And we were amazed at kind of the connections that we ended up getting. We had a sit down at that point in time with Randy Smallwood of Wheaton River when he was just starting Wheaton River. We talked to Joanne Fries and Art Fries. We had some Rob McLeod, who was a famous guy from Stewart, BC, come on as an advisor. Some amazing people came to us, and we ended up doing a deal with Rio Tinto. And all of a sudden, we're out there. It was the hardest thing to raise 225,000. But then, it was a little easier to raise, 4 million at $4, or sorry, at 80 cents. But then it was a breeze to raise 14 million at $4. And so we ended up taking that company from 5 cents to $4. And eventually it was through a lot of ups and downs, and, it was like a fellowship of the ring kind of journey, but we ended up selling it off to Hudbay for 512 million. So it was an amazing journey. But that just goes to show you the kind of amazing opportunities there are in the mining industry.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, especially Canadians, talk about the wealth generation potential of mining, right? You can take a company that, are really a piece of land with not much on it, shoot a couple drill holes in there, keep moving it along, and then boom, you've generated, $500 million worth of wealth, which is incredible. So awesome. I mean, hey, a pretty cool story. I'm sure there's a lot of battles there. You mentioned, you start off, raising 200 grand is pretty hard. And then, even raising 4 mil. Okay. Things are getting a tiny bit easier. And then 14 mil. Oh, this was a piece of cake. It's
Oh
funny.
yeah.
Obviously, it speaks to how great of a company you guys became at that point. Right.
Yeah,
So
it was
that's
just
fantastic.
having a vision. It was having a vision, having a direction, knowing where you wanted to be, and knowing that you're in the right place at the right time. And I think that's what I always look for in a company. And it's okay to be early. And like for instance, with Lomiko, we're a bit early in the graphite market, but boy, we know what's coming. It's going to be amazing in the next 5 or 6 years to see what kind of opportunity is going to be coming up.
Yeah. Oh, and awesome. I think, this is a good background. Do you want to talk about, maybe some of your roles along that way? I know you mentioned it, you're like, yeah, we got involved, we put a little bit of money in there, we were on the
Yeah.
board, you found Mark Levy, and then bang. Do you want to talk about, maybe some of your roles that you were doing along the way? Just to give people the picture of, really what, how impactful and what were you doing, and obviously all the other stuff if you want to throw it out there.
Yeah, at the beginning, really, where there was only three directors: Len DeMelt, Richard Gilbert, Gillard, and myself. And so I ended up becoming all at the same time CEO, CFO, and corporate secretary. So I don't know how that happened, but ended up taking on all of the management roles. And so we basically were pushing forward for a little while, and slowly but surely, I put together a plan to turn the company into a much bigger company with more people involved. And so we went hard and recruited some people, let go of the role of CEO, let go of the role of CFO, and put additional people in there. Tony Rickey came on, very famous CFO, very good mining guy, who came on as the CFO there. Max Pinsky came on as the corporate secretary. Amazing people attracted to the deal, and ended up that my only role at the end was janitor, and that's when I cleaned up. So, so that's you work your way down the corporate ladder in some of these firms, and that's really the best way to go. Is that you make it so that other people want it, want the company, want to invest, and that's what we've been doing all along in the way we've approached companies. You don't just throw it at people at the cheapest price. You make sure it's worthy of value, and people recognize the value of companies.
So what were some of the learnings that you can take, from Norsemont, in that whole process, from 1 mil to 512, of course a successful exit. What are you bringing to Lamico?
Yeah, I think the key element is that the underlying commodity price will motivate all shareholders. That's the underlying element of this, is that at the time, copper prices were spiking, and we went from 70 cents to $4 on copper as we were drilling the company out. So that is going to unite all shareholders and point them in the same direction. So in that element, greed is good. The other thing I learned is, you're going to have people who sell, so you've got to create a market. You've got to continually be marketing and talking to people, and those people are going to have exits. You like them when they bought. You're going to have to let them sell when they need to sell, and make sure there's other people who are willing to buy. So those are the two things that are takeaways on the market side. On the company side, you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep progressing. You have to move that project forward. And if it's a garbage project and it's not going to work, don't beat a dead horse, get rid of it and start again. These are the things that are so important. There's so many companies out there that have projects that are never going anywhere. I'm not one of those guys. call it what it is and say that, look, we can move on from this because this isn't going to work, and we're going to something that's going to work. And that's how you get to really good projects, and that's how you build mines. You don't build mines, there's no one on earth that's taken one company, taken the first shot, and became a billionaire from it. That's not going to happen. There's 10 failures before someone succeeds in a mining company, and that's just a reality. And you have to work your way through it and know when the time is right.